Boy, oh boy, isn't the latest snapshot just glorious, right? We're here in our nice, snazzy full set of copper armor, right? No mod, no data pack. All it is resources, and yet it's completely functional. Isn't that fantastic? So, the latest snapshot has unlocked the ability to customize item models across the board, right? It's not just armor. You can do elytras, you can do tridents, you can basically reform weapons and do proper custom weapons without a whole bunch of tinkering. They've streamlined the process, so it is super simple to use and to customize. But better than that, it now interacts with some of the other features of the game. So for instance, trimming. You can make a new armor set and it's still fully functional, right? You can trim it and it still retains the new model. It is perfect, right? All we need now is the ability to modify entity models and I'm set, right? You can do so much with data packs and resource packs. It is just fantastic for content creation and the sandbox nature of Minecraft. But anyway, we're here today to figure out, right, how to actually make your new sets of armor. Anything you want. So, luckily for us, It's now has come in clutch, right, with a nice starting tutorial on how to actually go about implementing your own sets of armor. In fact, this copper armor set is his own creation. So, a big thanks to him, and why don't we hop over to his blog and start going over the details. So, here we have it. Custom armor template, right? A nice write-up of exactly what you need to, and it's really not complex. And better than that, they have attached their own template file, right? Which is basically just a resource pack ripe and ready for you to customize and create your own fancy armor sets. So they do go over in very good detail exactly what you need to do step by step, and it's really not that complex, right? The biggest thing is just making the armor textures, and you can just take iron, netherite, whatever you want to take, tweak it as much or as little as you want, and then go through these steps to then make it into a functional set of armor, right? So we have new layers to edit and adjust, and that, again, all starts with downloading this nice, useful file. So we'll use this as our starting point, and we will check out how exactly to make your own armor sets. Right, so here we are, resource pack, right? This is all just a resource pack, so it just goes into your normal Minecraft resource pack folder, but here we have custom armor template, and there's a few readmes if you want, again, a little bit more detail, right? Again, 5 easy steps. You're just changing a few names and editing the textures, and you're all good to go, right? So we have assets, and inside assets, we have the normal Minecraft stuff, which is the atlas to build blocks, right? And it's just basically assigning the new directories so you can keep everything nice and organized. Now, there's no reason to edit or change this, but you can if you're more comfortable just working with the Minecraft directory rather than making your own for a resource pack, which you should if you're going to share it. You can just edit it directly in the models or texture folders of a Minecraft directory, right? So if you were to open up the Minecraft file, so for instance, you navigate to the install and you open it as an archive, you can then go to assets, you can take out this whole folder of Minecraft and you can use that as your resource pack if you want, right? But in here you'll have your model file, which has equipment, and you also have your texture file, which again also has equipment. Now this is just so that you can use your own directories, right? So it is definitely useful to have, but again, you don't have to change anything, it just means you have to edit within this custom armor folder. So going through here, we have models and textures. Now textures is going to be our first stop, right? So we have entity, then we have equipment, and we have basically the torso and boots, weirdly, right? And helmet, and then we have the legs. Legs are on a separate table because it also includes the belt, which is technically an overlapping set of textures. So for instance, if we move the chest piece, right, the legs go partially onto our torso. So since that's included, it's not all on one sheet, but all you have to do is edit these files. Now, copper will be included. I've gone ahead and taken the liberty to pre-create my own so that we can, again, go through actually setting them up as custom armor, right? So we have, again, helmet, boots, chest, and arms, right? And then the legs, nice and simple. So all you have to do on the texture side of things is create your own. And then what we need to do is set up some icons, right? Again, create your own, use something already existing. It can be, again, simple. It doesn't have to conform to the normal armor icons. You can, again, it's your resource pack, do whatever you want. But once all the textures are out of the way, we can then make our way back to the model section, right? So models, and then in equipment, we have to start connecting all the dots. So nice and simple. I'm just going to copy copper, right? And then since our first armor set is empowered amethyst, that's what we're going to name it, right? So empowered amethyst, and we can open that up, and nice and simple, right? it's basically just changing copper to empowered amethyst, since that is what we named the torso and the legs, right? So empowered amethyst, and if we just go quickly through the directory, we can just double check that, right? So textures, entity, equipment, humanoid, powered amethyst, right? So as long as that matches whatever you've named it, and you can name it whatever you want, you just have to make sure that this matches, you can link them up. Now, similar for leggings, right? We have that humanoid folder, and then we also have the humanoid leggings folder. So if we just, again, copy powered amethyst, put it there for the copper, and we click save, the texture resources are now linked to a model that you can assign to any item in-game, right? So it's as simple as that. Make the texture, create a model file, and then you can assign that through the new component feature. So if we go here, we have custom armor copper, right? And this is just a give command setting components. So we're also setting the item name, which we don't quite need right now, right? We'll go over that in a little bit. We have item model, which will now relate to the icon, right? We haven't set up the icons yet, so don't worry about that. And then we have equipable, slot, and model, and that is what we want to change for now, right? So we'll change this to empowered amethyst. Nice and simple, right? It'll give us the boots, but if we reload the resource pack, we can then equip the boots, and hopefully I've done everything nice and simply, right? And there we go. We have some amethyst boots. So if we do the same thing, but for any different slot, right? So we can change this from feet to, say, head, right? Even though it looks like boots, now it goes on our head, and then we can do it for chest, and it will automatically render the correct model from it. So chest, this is going to get confusing with the boots. And then lastly, we have legs, which I always forget if it's leggings or legs. We'll see, right? Is legs correct? Legs is correct. Then we have our shiny amethyst armor, right? And again, the beauty of being able to edit the models now is it doesn't have to conform to the normal model size. So you'll notice that this armor doesn't quite cover the whole body, right? And I am terrible with the dayset command. There we go. So it's missing, the torsos are a lot shorter. We get rid of the helmets, the boots, and the leggings, right? It's more like a, what do you call it, a shawl, right? A cloak. Yeah. But again, you're at freedom to edit the models however you want, which is much different to the way of making trims into new armor, which is something I also did prior to the snapshot. But now we can actually just make full-on armor sets. So again, all we've done is create the texture, link it to a model, and then assign that model with components. So again, we have slot, right? This determines where it's equipable, and then the model. And then obviously it will match where it's equipable to what it's meant to render. So you can assign it to main hand, off hand. You can assign it to legs, helmet, chest, or feet, right? Remember, it's feet, not boots, and you're good to go. But the more complex thing, weirdly enough, is the item model and setting an actual icon. So you can still use custom model data if you're working with a ton of items under the same thing. But basically, we're using iron boots as a starting item, and you can, right? You don't have to use item boots. We could use, say, for instance, coal, and we could get rid of the item model, right? So it will literally be coal, but it is now equipable in whichever slot, legs. There we go, right? So you can use any item as a starting point, and this is where it becomes really important to know which items you will want to use, as I need to remember where to access the extra folder. There we go. So under controls, we have operator items tab. You want to turn that on. And these are the best items to use because for a survival player, these are meaningless, right? They can't put down structure block, they can't access commands, and you can reskin these. Structure blocks are probably your best, or jigsaw blocks, because a survival player can't actually place them into the world, meaning if you reskin them, right, and then they become equipable to X slot, it's much easier. So for instance, again, with the jigsaw block, if we just change coal to a jigsaw block or structure block, right, jigsaw's better, it's shorter, we now have a jigsaw block that is equipable in our leg slot. But as a survival player, right, if we go game mode, survival, we can no longer place it in the world. Meaning that, again, if the item model is set and it looks like something else, it acts like something else, it is basically something else. Yeah. So the only problem that I personally have with this is it means everyone in the resource community, or using multiple resource packs, is most likely going to be using jigsaw blocks. So I wish there was a way to create items from scratch, right? That would be the next step, but we're getting there. So with that out of the way, how do we actually handle the icons? Now the icons become a bit more complex, especially when you start looking at trimming, because trimming obviously does change the actual icon, right? Sorry, you need templates first before you can actually trim everything, and you can't trim jigsaw blocks, which you can modify as well, but because this actually changes the inbuilt icon, you need to create that as well, which is annoying. So the rendering is done by Minecraft, but all icons are done by you. And that is where it becomes tumultuous, right? And a bit unnecessary. And hopefully Mojang does something about it. But if we go back through the custom armor, right, we can go to textures and we can go to item this time instead of entity. And in here, this is where you have your item icons. Now you have to build the models for this icon. And when you're building the model, you have to build it every single time for all the different trims. So if we go back to models, and then item, we have copper trims and copper boot, chest plate, helmet, and leggings. Now, wonderfully, it now has created this batch file, right? Which basically will run a replacement function, which will replace all instances of one word with another for every file that's in this directory. So, for instance, if we load it up and we change copper, right, which it's currently set to, so old string value, copper, right, and we change that to empowered underscore amethyst, which is what all our icons are set to, click enter, it will replace them all, right? So folder changed, the boots changed, and every one of these changed. Because again, you have to create one for every single trim. And mind you, for my personal resource pack, for Runechant, the data pack I'm working on, I've added double the trims, if not more, I can't remember. So I would have so many files to edit. So it's a wonderful creation, but it's now, and I will be using this for way more than just armor trims. But again, it's as simple as that, right? Again, make the texture and make sure you have the naming scheme on point. So now we have Amethyst Boot that exists as a item model. So again, using the commands, right, where we can set the components, if I have one that has the actual, there we go, item model, we can change this from copper, since copper no longer exists, to amethyst. You know what, I've got the empowered part. I should have picked a much simpler name, right? Empowered amethyst. So, reload the texture pack, right? And hopefully, fingers crossed, I've done it all correctly. We end up with, there you go, amethyst boots, which is the wrong one because that's leggings. Oh well, right? But as you can see, copper no longer exists. So what if you wanted to create more and more sets of armor? Well, a little tweak that I'm going to make is we're going to make a new folder, right? Which is going to be called, I don't know, let's just do build or something, right? If it's capitalized, Minecraft does not do anything with it. It hates capitals, right? So we do build, and in here, we're going to drag everything. And then what we're going to do is create copies of everything, right? So we shift click on, nope, control click, had it right. Copy that and put it back in the item model folder, right? And then in build, we can now edit this as many times as we want. So we can take that empowered amethyst and put it back to copper. Nice and simple. Again, just type in the current word and then the word you want to change it to. It will do its work. And then we can take all of this, copy that, and put that back in the item folder. We can then reload the texture pack. And now we have both amethyst and copper completely functional. Right? So again, it's all assigned through components. You have one for where it's equipped and the model it's going to use. And now you have item models if you want to specify an item model without having to specify a number, which is a very big deal because for any modern age resource pack that you're going to create, you will most likely want to just link item models directly to whatever you're making, right? Again, you still have the functionality of whichever item you're using, but the item that you're using can be anything. And again, through components, you can set whatever you want, right? You can give it its durability, right, which is set to damage. You can give it its enchantability, right? So what slot it is and what it can be enchanted by. You can then also, again, set all manner of different things, what it's called through item name, which it now has set in the functions they specified. Max damage, again, to do with durability, but you can also set, you know, the attributes and all the normal effects that occupy any normal piece of equipment, right? So your ability to make functional equipment is now coupled with your ability to make functional models, and that is absolutely fantastic, and I will definitely be doing more on this, but that should probably do, right, as the starting intro. Again, it is so simple to use what it's now is set up. It is fantastic. So hopefully that was helpful, right? Links to their blog will be in the description. Enjoy. See ya.